The quantum sensors aboard Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon 7 had never registered anything like it. Commander Vexor's crystalline form pulsed with shades of alarm as she studied the readings. The unknown vessel had appeared at the edge of their detection range, seemingly materializing from nowhere, defying every known law of physics. "Run the analysis again," she ordered, her crystalline resonance betraying tension. The station's AI complied instantly, but the results remained unchanged. The vessel's energy signature matched no known species in the collective's database, and its composition included elements that shouldn't exist in natural space. Senior Analyst Fuller, his gelatinous form rippling with excitement, moved closer to the display. "Commander, these readings, they match theoretical patterns from the Exodus records." Vexora felt her crystal matrix vibrate with disbelief. The Exodus records were ancient texts, dating back to the early days of the collective, speaking of a species that had vanished from known space. Humans, they were called. But that was impossible. Humanity was a myth, a cautionary tale told to young ones about the dangers of rapid technological advancement. "Impossible," she vocalized, but even as the word left her resonance chamber, the sensor readings updated. The vessel was changing course, moving with impossible precision. No known propulsion system could achieve such maneuverability. "Commander," the station's AI interrupted, its voice carefully modulated. "I've detected a transmission from the vessel. It's using." There was an actual pause, something Vexora had never heard from an AI before. "It's using collective protocols. Perfect ones." Before Vexora could respond, the main communication screen activated. The being that appeared caused every crystalline being on the station to pulse with shock. It looked exactly like the descriptions from the ancient texts: bipedal, soft-skinned, with two forward-facing eyes and peculiar fur on its head. "Greetings, Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon 7. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon Seeker. We come in peace." The humans spoke perfect collective standard, their pronunciation flawless. Vexora's training took over, despite her shock. "This is Commander Vexora. Your presence is unexpected. Our records indicate that humanity is extinct." A sound emerged from the human that the translation matrix identified as laughter. "I assure you, Commander, we are very much alive. We've been watching, waiting, preparing. The galaxy is changing, and it's time for humanity to return." Within moments, Vexora's second-in-command, third observer Till, reported multiple new contacts appearing throughout the sector. Vessels of various sizes and configurations, all bearing similar impossible energy signatures, decloaked systematically. "How?" Vexora began, but Captain Chen interrupted gently. "Your sensors didn't detect us because they weren't designed to. We've been here all along, Commander, watching, learning, protecting. The collective has done an admirable job maintaining peace in this sector, but there are threats you don't yet know about. Threats we've been quietly handling for centuries." The implications staggered Vexora. If humans had been present, undetected, for all this time, why reveal yourselves now? "Because the Neru Cascade is approaching," Chen replied, her expression growing serious. "You don't know what that is yet, but you will soon. Your scientists will detect it within the next solar cycle. When they do, you'll need our help to survive it." The quantum sensors suddenly blared new alerts. A massive gravitational anomaly was forming at the edge of the system. Captain Chen nodded, unsurprised. "That would be one of our research vessels creating a demonstration, a small-scale version of what's coming. Watch carefully, Commander. What you're about to see will rewrite your understanding of physics." The anomaly twisted in impossible ways, forming patterns that Vexora's crystalline mind struggled to comprehend. Energy readings exceeded anything their instruments could measure. Then, just as suddenly, it vanished, leaving behind perfectly stable space. "That," Chen explained, "is how we've stayed hidden, how we travel, how we'll help you survive what's coming." But first, we need to re-establish official contact. Your collective council needs to understand that the galaxy is larger, older, and far more complex than they realize. Vexor's form pulsed with the colors of decision. The protocols for this situation didn't exist. How could they when they were meeting a myth? But she knew her duty. I will contact the council immediately. But Captain Chen, how many of you are there? How far does human space extend? The human captain's expression shifted into what the translation matrix identified as a smile. Commander, humanity never left. We expanded those empty sectors on your maps, the mysterious regions your ships can't quite reach, the zones where probes mysteriously fail. That's us. That's always been us. And now, it's time for proper introductions. As if to emphasize her words, more human vessels decloaked, forming a mesmerizing display of advanced technology that dwarfed anything the collective had achieved. The myth had become reality, and Vexra knew that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Grand Chamber of the Collective Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 17 member species packed the crystalline amphitheater, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of alien life. High Counselor Naz Tool, her energy form crackling with barely contained anxiety, watched the holographic display dominating the chamber's center. The footage from Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon 7 played again, human vessels appearing from nowhere, performing maneuvers that violated known physics, demonstrating technology that shouldn't exist. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, each species communicating in their native form, from crystalline resonance to chemical signals to pure energy patterns. Silence. Naz Tool's voice cut through the chaos. The Ancient Archives Division has completed their analysis of the Exodus records. Master Archivist Kalon will present their findings. The ancient Voltaren floated to the center platform, his gaseous form swirling with patterns of knowledge accumulated over centuries. What we thought we knew was wrong, he began, his voice heavy with revelation. The human disappearance, their supposed extinction, it was planned. Deliberate, they didn't vanish. They ascended. The chamber's adaptive lighting adjusted as Kelon projected images from the recovered archives. These records were encrypted in ways we're only now beginning to understand. The truth was hidden in plain sight, scattered across thousands of seemingly unrelated documents. The images showed ancient human settlements, early spacecraft, and then something more, massive construction projects that dwarfed anything the collective had achieved. They knew something was coming, Kalon continued, something that threatened not just their civilization, but all life in the galaxy. Instead of seeking help or attempting to warn others, they'd made a different choice. New images appeared. Vast fleets of ships disappearing into unknown space, entire solar systems being enclosed in fields of impossible energy, and technology that seemed to bend reality itself. They withdrew, not in fear, but in preparation. Every disappearance, every lost colony, every abandoned outpost. It was all part of a coordinated effort spanning centuries. The next revelation caused several energy-based council members to flicker with shock. They'd been protecting us, all of us. The mysterious disappearances of potential threats to the collective, the inexplicable failures of dangerous weapons projects, the sudden solutions to imminent planetary disasters. That was them. They've been our unseen guardians for millennia. A new figure appeared in the chamber, a human woman, her holographic form perfectly rendered. Captain Sarah Chen had requested this audience, and now she stood before the gathered species of the collective. What Master Archivist Kalon has shared is true, she began, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. But it's only the beginning. The chamber's lighting shifted again as Chen gestured, and suddenly the space was filled with new holographic displays. Star charts that extended far beyond the collective's known space. Your maps show empty regions, dead zones, areas where ships cannot pass. That's where we've been, not hiding, but building, preparing, creating technology and defenses that your civilizations are only now becoming ready to understand. She waved her hand, and the star charts transformed, showing vast networks of interconnected systems, technologies that defied comprehension, and structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We didn't leave because we feared what was out there. We left because we needed time. Time to develop the means to protect all life in this galaxy from what we knew was coming. The Neru Cascade, she explained, was just the beginning. A wave of space-time distortions that would tear through the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. But humans had spent millennia preparing for it, developing technologies that could not only survive the cascade, but harness its energy. "We're not here to conquer or control," Chen assured the Council. "We're here to share what we've learned, to help prepare your civilizations for what's coming. But more than that, we're here because it's time for the galaxy's civilizations to stand together. The Cascade is just one of many challenges that await us all." High Counselor Naztol's energy form pulsed with the patterns of deep thought. "You speak of sharing knowledge, Captain Chen, but the gap between our technological levels appears vast. How can we possibly bridge such a divide?" Chen smiled, and with a gesture, created a holographic representation of a device that seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways. "This is a knowledge integration matrix. It can safely transfer understanding across species, allowing your civilizations to grasp concepts that would take centuries to learn conventionally. We've spent generations perfecting it, ensuring it can work with every known form of consciousness." The implications stunned the Council into silence. Not only had humanity survived and thrived, but they had also developed ways to share their advancement with others. They hadn't withdrawn out of fear or superiority, but out of a sense of responsibility to protect and prepare. "The question before you now," Chen concluded, "is not whether to accept our help. You'll need it to survive what's coming. The question is, are you ready to accept that everything you thought you knew about humanity, about physics, about the very nature of reality, is just the beginning? Are you ready to awaken to the true nature of our galaxy?" As if in answer, the great screens monitoring local space lit up with new alerts. The first signs of the Neru Cascade were appearing, exactly where and when humanity had predicted. The time for debate was over. The Age of Awakening had begun. The human diplomatic vessel Unity defied conventional understanding. As the collective's delegation approached in their most advanced ship, First Speaker Mirax couldn't help but notice how their vessel's hull seemed to ripple with unease, its quantum crystalline matrix responding to energies it couldn't comprehend. The Unity didn't just float in space, it seemed to exist in perfect harmony with it, as if space itself had agreed to host the vessel. Ambassador Kexley, representing the collective's scientific coalition, pressed his sensory appendages against the observation window. "The readings make no sense," he muttered. "Their ship, it's not just advanced technology. It's something else entirely." "That's because you're trying to understand it using conventional physics," a voice responded through their ship's communication system. Dr. Elena Martinez, the human liaison assigned to their delegation, had been surprisingly forthcoming with information, yet each answer only led to more questions. Imagine trying to explain quantum mechanics to a species that hasn't discovered atoms yet. That's roughly where we are. The docking procedure defied explanation. One moment they were approaching the Unity, the next they were inside it, with no sensation of movement or transition. The human vessel's interior seemed to shift and flow, adapting to each species' environmental needs automatically. Captain Sarah Chen, now serving as humanity's chief diplomatic officer, greeted them in a chamber that somehow accommodated all 20 different species of the delegation comfortably. "Welcome to Unity," she said, her voice clear in each species' native language simultaneously. "Today we begin bridging a gap that has existed for millennia." The first revelation came during what the humans call the tour of their vessel. "This ship," Chen explained, "isn't just a diplomatic vessel. It's a seed." She gestured, and the walls around them became transparent, revealing the true nature of unity. The ship wasn't just a ship, it was a living technological ecosystem, a fusion of organic and artificial intelligence, so advanced it made the collective's most sophisticated AI look primitive in comparison. We didn't just advance our technology during our absence, Chen continued. We evolved, changed, grew. Humanity as you knew us from the ancient records hasn't existed for thousands of years. We've become something else. Not better, just different. To demonstrate, Chen's form shifted, becoming translucent, then crystalline, then energy-based, before returning to human form. The delegation recoiled in collective shock. This isn't shape-shifting technology, she explained. This is understanding the fundamental nature of matter, energy, and consciousness to such a degree that the distinction between them becomes optional. Ambassador Kexley's scientific curiosity overcame his shock, but the energy requirements, the computational power needed, would be impossible using your current understanding of physics. Chen completed his thought, which is why we're starting with the basics. The knowledge integration matrix we mentioned. It's not just a teaching tool. It's a key to understanding reality as we now know it. The delegation was led to a chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. In its center floated a device that hurt to look at, not because it was bright or harsh, but because it existed in ways the mind couldn't quite process. This, Chen said, is how we'll help you prepare for the cascade. But first, you need to understand what we've become and why we chose to reveal ourselves now. She waved her hand, and the chamber filled with holographic displays, showing events that had occurred during humanity's absence. They watched as humans encountered and quietly aided thousands of emerging civilizations. They saw humans preventing cosmic disasters, redirecting gamma-ray bursts, stabilizing supernovas, and shepherding the very evolution of the galaxy itself. But most importantly, they saw why humanity had hidden themselves away. The cascade isn't a natural phenomenon, Chen revealed. It's the wake of something moving through our galaxy. Something ancient, vast, and incomprehensible. We've been tracking it for millennia, learning its patterns, understanding its nature. We call them the predecessors. The displays showed structures that dwarfed solar systems, beings that existed in dimensions beyond counting, and technology that made even humanity's achievements seem primitive. They're returning, Chen continued. The species that seeded our galaxy with life, who engineered the very laws of physics we're only now beginning to understand. And they're not alone. The final revelation struck the delegation like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't hidden away out of fear or arrogance. They'd hidden to prepare to evolve, to become guardians capable of standing between younger species and forces that could unmake reality itself. The cascade is just the beginning, Chen concluded. We need your help, not because we lack the power to face what's coming, but because diversity of thought, of form, of understanding is the greatest weapon we have against the challenges ahead. Humanity evolved to face these threats, but we never wanted to face them alone. First speaker Mirax, her crystalline form pulsing with the weight of understanding, asked the question that hung in every delegate's mind. What do you need from us? Chen's form shifted again, this time becoming something that existed between states of being, a visual representation of humanity's evolution. We need you to take the next step with us. To evolve, not as we did, but in your own unique ways. The knowledge integration matrix isn't just about sharing information. It's about awakening potential that's been dormant in all sapient species since the predecessors first seeded our galaxy with life. The chamber hummed with energy as Chen's words sank in. They weren't being asked to become like humans. They were being invited to become something more. Something their species had always had the potential to be, but never knew existed. The age of isolation was ending. The age of awakening had begun, and in the vast darkness between the stars, ancient eyes turned their attention toward the galaxy they had seeded so long ago, watching as their children prepared to meet their makers. The emergency alert echoed through every communication channel in collective space. A stellar phenomenon unlike anything in recorded history was tearing through the Andromeda Arm, consuming everything in its path. The Niru Cascade had arrived ahead of schedule, and it was far more violent than even humanity's models had predicted. Admiral Vexera, recently promoted after her first contact experience, watched in horror as the cascade consumed the outer colonies of the Zethal system. Millions of crystalline beings, their forms shattering under forces that distorted the very fabric of space-time. The collective's most advanced ships, pride of their fleet, crumbled like dust before the wave. "All vessels, fall back to safe distance," she ordered, her crystalline form resonating with despair. "There's nothing we can." Space twisted. Reality seemed to hiccup. Where there had been empty void, hundreds of human vessels materialized. But they weren't warships or evacuation craft. They were something else entirely. "This is Guardian Fleet Alpha," Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "Admiral Vexera, please hold your position. You're about to witness why we spent millennia preparing." The human vessels moved with impossible grace, arranging themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern. Energy began to flow between them, creating geometric shapes that hurt to look at. It wasn't technology as the collective understood it. It was something far more fundamental. "What you're seeing," Chen explained as her fleet took position, "is reality engineering. We're not fighting the cascade. We're rewriting the laws of physics in this sector to make it impossible for the cascade to exist here." The human ships began to pulse with energy that defied measurement. Where their fields intersected, space itself seemed to crystallize, becoming something more solid, more defined. The cascade struck this barrier and stopped. Not just stopped, it began to reverse, its energy being channeled and redirected through the human fleet's network. What had been a wave of destruction became a controlled flow of power, feeding into massive collectors that appeared at the edge of the system. "The predecessors built the universe using rules," Chen continued, her voice calm despite the incredible forces her fleet was manipulating. "We spent our isolation learning how to change those rules. The cascade isn't just a natural disaster, it's a test. The predecessors want to see which of their children have grown enough to survive it." As if in response to her words, new alerts blared across every sensor in the system. Something was emerging from the controlled remnants of the cascade. Something vast and ancient and impossible. A structure larger than a solar system phased into existence. It wasn't a ship or a station. It was architecture on a cosmic scale, a construct that existed in more dimensions than most species could perceive. And it was reaching out. "First contact protocols initiated," Chen announced, but not to the collective fleet. She was speaking to the impossible structure. "Guardian Fleet Alpha reporting successful defense of protected species, requesting acknowledgement." The response came not in words or signals, but in shifts of reality itself. The structure's presence pressed against every mind in the system, a vast and ancient consciousness touching theirs with infinite gentleness. "They're pleased," Chen translated, though how she could interpret such alien communication was beyond understanding. "They've been watching us, all of us, for longer than your civilizations have existed. Humanity wasn't chosen to be guardians. We chose the role ourselves, and in doing so, proved we were ready for the next stage." The structure's presence shifted, and suddenly every being in the system could see what Chen meant. Images flowed into their minds. The history of humanity's guardianship, countless interventions that had saved species and civilizations without ever revealing their presence. They saw humans diverting asteroids from inhabited worlds, neutralizing supernova before they could threaten developing life, and even subtly guiding the technological development of countless species to prevent them from destroying themselves. "We never interfered directly," Chen explained as the visions continued. "We simply nudged, guided, protected. When your scientists had breakthroughs that seemed to come from dreams, that was us, sharing knowledge at a pace you could handle. When your civilizations faced crises that mysteriously resolved themselves, that was us, working through the quantum fabric of reality itself. The structure pulsed again, and new information flooded every mind in the system. The predecessors hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had been waiting, watching, evaluating. The cascade wasn't just a test for humanity. It was a test for all species, to see how they would react when faced with forces beyond their comprehension. "And you passed," Chen announced, her voice filled with pride not for humanity, but for all the species present. Not because you could fight the cascade, you couldn't, but because when faced with the impossible, you didn't turn on each other. You didn't fragment or collapse. You stood together, ready to face extinction as one united collective. The structure began to shift, its impossible geometry realigning. "They're offering a choice," Chen translated. "The predecessors are ready to share their knowledge, not just with humanity, but with all species who proved themselves ready." The cascade was just the first test. There will be others, each more challenging than the last. Admiral Vexor's crystalline form pulsed with the weight of understanding. "You're not just guardians," she realized. "You're teachers, preparing us for this moment." "Yes," Chen confirmed, "because what's coming next will require all of us working together. The predecessors built this universe, but they weren't the first. There are things out there older than time itself, and they're beginning to wake up. That's why we need each other, all of us, every species, every form of life and consciousness." The structure pulsed one final time, and a gateway opened, a door to understanding that would change everything. The age of isolation was truly over. The real work was about to begin. 1 year after the Cascade event, the galactic landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The Great Confluence Station, a massive structure jointly created by human and collective engineering, hung in the space between dimensions, serving as the central hub for the greatest exchange of knowledge and culture in known history. First speaker Mirax, her crystalline form now capable of shifting between different states of matter, stood before the gathered representatives of over 500 species. Some were physical beings, others pure energy, and still others existed in states that defied traditional classification. The knowledge integration matrix had awakened potential in every species that chose to embrace it. A cycle ago, she began, her voice reaching each being in their native form of communication. "We thought ourselves alone in facing an impossible threat. Today, we stand as proof that evolution knows no bounds when species work together." The station's central chamber shifted, its geometry adapting to better accommodate the vast gathering. Human technology, merged with collective crystalline architecture and enhanced by the predecessor's fundamental understanding of reality, had created spaces that could exist in multiple states simultaneously. Captain Chen, now Director of Interspecies Integration, appeared beside Mirax. Her form flickered between human and energy states, a demonstration of how humanity had continued to evolve, even as they helped others achieve their potential. "The predecessors' archives have revealed the true scope of our galaxy's history," she announced, "and more importantly, its future." The chamber filled with images of things to come, challenges and opportunities that would test their combined civilizations. The ancient beings that predated the predecessors were stirring, their movements causing ripples in reality itself. But now, they faced a galaxy united and prepared. "We've established monitoring stations in 90% of known space," reported Admiral Vexora, her crystalline form now integrated with advanced human technology. "The Guardian fleets, now crewed by members of all species, stand ready to protect developing civilizations and maintain the stability of space-time itself." The evidence of their progress surrounded them. Ships that could phase between dimensions, powered by the fundamental forces of reality. Cities that existed in multiple states simultaneously, accommodating the needs of every species. Communication systems that operated through the quantum fabric of space itself, allowing instant connection across the galaxy. But more impressive than the technology was the cultural integration. Species that once could barely comprehend each other now work together seamlessly, their different perspectives and abilities creating solutions that no single civilization could have conceived alone. The predecessors have shared another revelation, Chen announced, her expression serious. The tests, the cascade, the awakening of ancient forces, they weren't just about survival. They were preparation. There are other galaxies out there, other realities, facing their own challenges. They need our help. The chamber erupted in a mixture of excitement and concern. Mirax raised her crystalline appendages, calling for attention. "We are no longer simply the children of the predecessors," she declared. "We have become guardians in our own right, not just of our galaxy, but of life itself." New images appeared, showing vast fleets of ships preparing for intergalactic travel. These weren't just exploration vessels. They were seeds of civilization, carrying the combined knowledge and capabilities of hundreds of species, ready to help other galaxies face their own tests. "Humanity spent millennia preparing us for this moment," Mirax continued, "not because they sought to rule or control, but because they understood a fundamental truth. The universe is too vast, too complex, for any single species to face alone." The station's sensors suddenly detected a new presence. The predecessor's structure had returned, but this time it wasn't just observing. It was changing, opening itself to them. Within its impossible geometry, they could see glimpses of other realities, other galaxies, other forms of life waiting to be discovered and aided. "This is not an ending," Chen declared, her form now fully merged with the station's systems, demonstrating the ultimate potential of human evolution. "This is the beginning of our true purpose. We are no longer separate species struggling to understand each other. We are the inheritors of a legacy greater than we imagined, and the guardians of all that is to come." The gathered beings, representing the combined achievement of billions of years of evolution and development, faced the opening gateway together. They had overcome the barriers of physics, biology, and consciousness itself. They had learned to change the very rules of reality while respecting the unique path of each species' development. "The age of isolation is over," Mirax and Chen spoke in unison, their voices carrying the weight of history and the promise of the future. "The age of guardianship begins." As if in response, the predecessor's structure pulsed with energy, and new gateways opened throughout the galaxy. The challenge was clear. There were other civilizations out there, facing their own versions of the cascade, their own ancient awakening forces. They needed guidance, protection, and the knowledge that they weren't alone. The combined fleets of humanity and the collective, now enhanced by the predecessor's technology and crewed by beings who had transcended their original limitations, prepared to depart. They carried with them not just advanced technology and understanding, but something far more valuable: the proof that evolution knew no bounds when species worked together. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, the true purpose of all intelligent life, not to conquer or compete, but to guide, protect, and elevate all forms of consciousness to their highest potential. The story of humanity's hidden guardianship had ended, but the legend of the United Galaxy was just beginning.